Let's welcome back to a new episode of the Magpie 24/7 ToonTALK podcast. In this episode, it's a quick one to get one out on Monday because that's our main uploading schedule, shall we say. But later on this week, you will receive a second episode, which will be a little longer, where both me and Kyle will have a sit down and talk about our upcoming Champions League opponents of the 25-26 season. But we did want to get at least one episode out on the day we usually get it out. So I suggest we talk about the Arsenal game. I have had the match reactions from both Paul and Kyle sent in to me as well, so it's not just my voice you will be hearing on this episode. And having said that, I suggest we go straight over to Kyle to hear his reaction on the lineup.
So what's happening, everyone? It's Kyle from Magpie 24/7. I hope you're all good. The team's just been released for today's game against Arsenal, and it looks like they're playing three centre backs and three centre midfielders. I don't quite get what the system is. There's no Lewis Hall at all, which is a bit baffling, to say the least. I would have expected two full backs, but the last time we played five at the back against Arsenal was in the semi-final at home at St James's Park, and we managed to win that one. So full trust in anyhow, but I'm not sure where personnel is on the field. I don't know what kind of system they're going for, but it could be a 5-3-2. It could be a four at the back with Dan Burn at left back against Saka. I don't know how that will fare, but time will tell on how that goes. But it seems to be a team where we're going to try and be hard to break down and hard to penetrate. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But that's the team reaction. The team lineup reaction. I'm hoping can get a good result today.
Thank you very much, Kyle. So, without any further ado, I suggest we get talking about the game itself. It actually started as quite an open game. Arsenal had a lot of opportunities, but Nick Pope turned out to be absolutely fantastic yesterday, making two amazing saves on Trossard and on Eze's efforts before the first penalty instance, shall we say, or maybe that even was in between those saves. But the first penalty instance was the back pass from Murphy, where Gyökeres was brought down in the penalty area by Nick Pope. And I get that if you're a rival fan, you'd like to have that penalty, but if we're being completely honest with ourselves, it wasn't. And I think the referee can't be blamed for not seeing that on the pitch because it went so fast. But I'm happy the VAR saw it, and I think the right decision was made by overturning it. Eventually, Arsenal's strong start didn't really amount to anything. Botman had a really, really great game as well. Thiaw looks like a really, really brave central defender, which I really like. I think he can make some big steps in the Newcastle United shirt and come close to Fabian Schär's legacy. Dan Burn was absolutely immense as well. The fact that he was playing left back was actually quite a surprise, especially given the fact that he would be competing against Saka. But I think I only saw him have to run after Saka once, meaning his positioning was absolutely fantastic throughout the game. But then, the 32nd minute, we get a set piece, a corner. At this moment in time, I think it was 5-5 or 6-6 when it came to the corners. When it came to the corners, that was very evenly matched. But we came short, did a little 1-2, and then the cross from Tonali was absolutely beautiful. Pinpoint on Nick Voltemada's head, and he finishes it brilliantly. But the defending from Gabriel is absolutely shambolic, and I don't really think you can say anything else about that defending. He just goes down, feeling there is contact in behind him, but given every single replay we have, we see how easily he goes down, how weak he's defending that cross. from Tonali, and I just think that's completely unacceptable for a defender like Gabriel. And we will also get back onto why that is, because he was crying his eyes out when that goal went in, running over to the referee, complaining, Arteta doing what Arteta does, over dramatically complaining about every single decision that goes against him as well. And then a couple of minutes later, Voltemade actually made a really, really nice combination with Tonali as well. His hold-up play is turning out to be absolutely excellent, which is exactly what we have been hearing about him. But for us to score a set piece against Arsenal is actually genuinely pretty impressive. And for Voltemade to have the impact he had because he was very much in the game, I think that's a real big positive for us as well. But before we do get into our reaction of the second half, I suggest we have a listen to Kyle's reaction to the first half.
And it's half time here at St James's Park. Newcastle 1, Arsenal nil. And what a half full of big decisions. First and foremost, the penalty that Arsenal didn't get. It went to VAR and was changed after about 5 minutes of them looking at it, which was crazy. I don't know how it took that long, because from the view me and Paul have, literally we're right in front of it, and Nick Pope got the ball clear as day. I don't know how it went on for as long as it did. I mean, Paul, I'll come to you, but how do you feel about the penalty decision? Like,
we had a good of a view as what the referee did, and we knew instantly it was never, ever, ever a spot kick. So why it took him 5 minutes to come to the same conclusion, I do not understand one little bit. But just over the moon, mate, that we've got the advantage at half time.
well, that's it. Brings us on to Nick Walter-Marty again. I mean, it's his second goal for Newcastle. Another header, brilliant header across the goalkeeper into the bottom corner. Leaves us end. Hopefully, he can get one in the Gallagher in the second half as well. That would be great. But great start from him, I think. Paul was literally saying he didn't want short corners, and we'll have a short corner and we'll score from the short corners. I think as we're jumping around celebrating the goal, I'm like, no short corners. But yeah, really, to be fair, I think we're fortunate to be in front. Arsenal have hit the post, they've had a good number of chances, but since we've scored, we've reacted well to being in front. So
Kyle, it must be the ball.
It must be the wind, it must be the grass, it must be the referee. In fact, it will be the referee today, won't it? Because they should have a penalty and it's an agenda. But hopefully we can hang on, maybe get a second and keep them at bay. But
he'll be out with his libel, but he's an extension at the moment.
Get them speakers on in half time to get used to an atmosphere the daft cunt. But hopefully we can get into the second half and see out this and get 3 points. But yeah, big half ahead for sure.
Thank you very much, Kyle. If we were to go on to the second half, in the 35th minute, I think it was, we actually probably could have made it 2-0. Gordon squared it there to Voltemade, but the shot wasn't really a dangerous one. Pope then in the second half made an absolutely fantastic save again when Eze started combining with Zubimendi and put that absolutely beautiful dink over the top for Timber to put his head onto, but Pope yet again buried that out of play. In the 64th minute, we had a counter of our own where Murphy did miss it. But then when Saka went off in the 60th minute, I thought we had this game in the bag. And, well, yeah, how wrong I actually was, wasn't I? Before, or one thing I did forget to talk about in the first half is Gabriel yet again, because he is the one talking point of this game. It's his blatant red card on Voltemade, because I'm really sorry, that is straight up what it is. And the fact that the referee doesn't see that is completely natural, because I believe his back is towards them when it happens. But the fact that you've got a VAR in 2025 and Gabriel is allowed to play out that game is absolutely criminal. Absolutely criminal, and Newcastle have every right to feel aggrieved by the result, especially given the fact, spoiler alert, it's him who heads home the winning goal. But the most frustrating part of this all, and I had to sleep a night over this to think about whether or not I would want to say this on the podcast because this does come over a little sore losery, but I have to talk about this. Mikel Arteta and Gabriel both showed yesterday they are genuinely, genuinely pathetic when it comes to decision making, and I mean the official decision making in the Premier League, because these are two people, especially Gabriel, but Arteta has to be an advocate of this, otherwise he wouldn't be doing this. But these are people that every single game week are testing what the rules allow and don't allow when it comes to fouling your opponent on set pieces. That is what Arsenal are paying their set piece coach to do. Not to come up with new combinations in set pieces, but to gauge at where the line is, to have a feel of what exactly it is that players can and can't do to get away with making fouls, because that's blatantly what every single Arsenal player is doing, committing fouls on their opposition in order to get an extra advantage from those set piece opportunities. And they did so yet again yesterday. And I mean, I don't respect that, but I can understand why you would do that. But if you do so, and then you go on crying about that weak ass defending you did on Nick Voltemade for that first goal, that is absolutely pathetic. That shows a complete lack of self awareness. That shows that you don't take yourself seriously or the sport seriously at all. Trying to get an advantage is one thing, but completely negating any sort of sportsmanship, anything, because genuinely yesterday it was only Gabriel. There is not a single other Arsenal player I have quarrels with after that game. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't even really have a lot of quarrels with the result, because even though I would have liked to get at least a draw out of this game, given how hard we fought, probably the result probably is correct and rightly favors Arsenal. So I'm not even complaining about that. I'm just complaining about how much of a hypocrite Gabriel and Mikel Arteta are. That genuinely pisses me off so much, because that's not football anymore you're watching. If I wanted to watch that, I'd watch MMA or UFC. So that was my rant on Mikel Arteta. I suggest we have a look at what Paul had to say about this game.
Oh my word, where do I start with that one? I'm literally just back to the car, coming away from the ground. I couldn't stand any more annoying, in your face, pompous, stuck up, arrogant Arsenal supporters. We've just gifted them the extra points, to be honest. I mean, I know you can say throughout the match on the balance of play and possession and working the keeper, they were clearly in advance of what we are, and that's slightly alarming that such a gulf, even though we're Champions League club, they are as well. But it was really, really, really shoddy and poor today. One decent chance and we took it. Well taken goal. Controversy, of course, throughout. It's Newcastle United and Arsenal. You wouldn't expect anything less. Penalties given, rescinded. Strange decisions again by the referee. The quality of refereeing, it has to be said, and this is not me being sore as a loser after a game. The standard of refereeing in this league is shite and getting worse. We saw what happened yesterday with the old Salah. And again today, for me, what the referee, what the VAR are doing, I do not know. But I don't want to focus too much on that. I thought we got the starting 11 wrong. I don't think Jacob Murphy should have played. I think it was a game for Mortalanga. I know he hasn't set the world on fire, but he is fast and quick. And against the team, you're probably expecting not to have much of the ball against. You want somebody who can move at pace, counter-attack. Murphy's better for games where you've got more possession and you want him to be knocking in balls for your striker. You're going to see plenty of possession. That's the game for Jacob Murphy. So to me, that was probably wrong. I was umming and ahhing who was going to play in what position. Was it the five at the back to start off with?
It turned out that no, it wasn't. We were going to go 4 across the back. Byrne got rinsed for most of the first half. He made the change, went free at the back, and we were playing with wing backs. Then, Tino goes off, and you expected maybe Kraft to be brought on to keep the 3 central defenders playing and together, not to change too much, but he brings Lascelles on. He brings Asula on, and again, I know there's a lot of love for Asula. He got a toe poker v Liverpool, 2 against Bradford, League One Bradford, and he's just done nothing for me. He does nothing for me. He runs about. He's a bit of a headless chicken. I know many do like him, but I've said all along when he's scored and he's not, it just doesn't look like it to me. £30 million, if we could ever get that for him, it is an absolute great piece of business for Newcastle United. He's got a class chant. Everybody wants him to do well. I want him to do well when he crosses the white line, but being honest, I just don't think he's up to the job. I really don't. Even as a third choice striker, I don't think he's up to the job. I think there's got to be better out there. We've got to have better options than this. I know we're missing Visser so much, but it's just gutting. Lightning striking twice, against Liverpool, against Arsenal now. It's still early in the season, still 1,000% behind Eddie and the lads, but I was gutted at the final whistle for throwing that away. And it gets to the keeper situation. Pope had some tremendous saves today, did some great things. What a shot stopper. But oh my word, he doesn't half make it difficult for himself. He really does. His distribution is shocking. Whether that's him throwing it out, kicking. And for the second goal that Arsenal score, you're like, right, go down, take your time, don't give it back to them, give our defence a little bit of a breather, let us get out of our half, because it literally was, backs against the wall all single second half. And what does he do? He just gives it back to Arsenal, and bang, there you go, and you just knew it. You just knew it, and Ramsdale's got to be sat on the bench scratching his head and wondering what he's got to do, or how bad Pope has to, through a Rick to be able to get into the team. And it's good, and it pains me to say it, because, like I say, you had so many good moments during the game, but as a keeper, you make a calamity or two, or you make a wrong decision, and it comes to bite you in the ass because it leads to a goal. I honestly think Ramsdale's the better all-round keeper. I know he conceded one against Bradford, again, League One opposition, but that was a worldie. Everybody knows it was a worldie. I don't want to ramble on too much on here. I'm going to get you back to Ian, but I am properly gutted about that. I think we started with the wrong formation, the wrong players. I think we made some bad substitutions during the game. Wasn't Eddie Howe's finest hour. Still 1,000% behind Eddie Howe. Still 1,000% behind the lads. But why so much of a gulf between 2 Premier League teams, 2 Champions League teams? We're at home, yet backs against the wall. Why, oh why? I'm so gutted. Referees, the standard is just, it's beyond gutter. It's much worse than that. Why are they not seeing the obvious? I think they need to get the eyes checked. I really don't want to say too, because I don't want it to sound like I'm blaming the referee totally, but you sit there and you scratch your head and you wonder what's going through his mind, or what the hell is at play at times like this. No doubt Arteta will be absolutely and totally unbearable, annoying, and so on, and it's a painful one to take, this one. It really is. Roll on midweek, and let's hope we can get back to winning ways against Union in the Champions League, and then a massive game next weekend against Nottingham Forest. Just to add as well, hearing a little bit more about the Tino Livramento thing, he was stretching off. I said, if he's staying down for this amount of time, it's not good. It didn't look very good from where we were, albeit at the other end of the ground. But it looks as if possibly worst case scenario, it could be an ACL or something major like that with his knee. And to be honest, I'm gutted about the result. I'm gutted a bit about the start that we've made to the league campaign, but I'm more gutted for Tino. And if it's an ACL again, I'm absolutely devastated for the lad, because he has literally been one of our very best players. And yes, your Trippiers, your Crafts, they want game time, they want minutes and stuff, but no Newcastle United player wants to get into a team because of something like that. So let's just all pray, let's all keep everything crossed that we get a little bit of good news, a positive news after he goes for a scan, a bit of an assessment, and we get Tino back. He is absolutely and utterly, he has been such a signing, such a class player, and you don't want to be losing class players like him.
And yes, I very much agree. Thank you, Paul. Especially when it comes to the Livramento injury. I'm very happy that yesterday we got the news late in the evening that it probably won't be an ACL injury for Livramento, but he still will be out for quite a while. And that's just going to be an absolutely massive miss for us. Livramento is the one fullback who offers something different than everybody else. So, yeah, I do think we are going to very, very much suffer from his absence. Before we end this match reaction, I wanted to take you to the post game reaction of Kyle.
And so it ended at St James's Park. Newcastle 1, Arsenal 2. And again, beaten in the final part of the game, last couple of minutes. And yeah, just on reflection, I think there's a lot of frustration. I think on the balance of play, we probably didn't deserve anything, but we managed to get in front through Walter Murray. And then we're defending well. Botman was having a fantastic game. Malik Chow was having a really good game. And we're holding firm. And then we'll get into the last 10 minutes and we'll just capitulate. I don't understand why. And to be honest, I am gonna call Howard on this one because I think he's got it wrong. I really do. I think bringing the cells on is a silly decision for the injured Tino Livramento. Especially when you've got a fullback on the bench. I just feel like we showed Arsenal a bit too much respect. To be honest, we went with five at the back, and then when we brought like Lascelles and that on and took Voltamore off for Asula, we just invited more pressure onto ourselves, and they've brought Odegaard on, and he's managed to change the game a little bit more with his creativity. And they've brought in Moreno, former Newcastle player, and he's managed to change the game by getting the equaliser. But I just feel like Howe got a lot of today wrong, and people make mistakes. It's one of them, but yeah, I just feel that there was a bit too much respect shown for a team that doesn't deserve respect because Arsenal, the fans, the football club, the manager, they're just horrible. They're a horrible club, and I hope by the end of this season they've got exactly the same as what they've got now as they've had under Arteta throughout. Fuck all, because they don't deserve it. They're just a horrible team to play against. Um, the referee, Jared Gillett, I think he was absolutely shocking. Arsenal all game pulling and tugging with centre forward shirt throughout the entirety of the game. It was unchecked. The second William Asula does it to Saliba, it gets pulled up on. Um, it took him all the time in the world to go for a penalty that wasn't a fucking penalty. He got the ball. It was Pope clearly got the ball, and Gyökeres tries to make a meal of it. Who did fuck all. Must just be Swedish strikers, the cunts on. um, but yeah, I just think Howe got it wrong in a lot of with his substitutions and the starting lineup today. I just feel like if we're going for a counter-attacking kind of thing, why didn't Alanga start with his pace? Obviously, there was only a couple of moments in the game where the ball has went towards Alanga and he's chased after it, but when he did, they were petrified of him. And it's just I don't know, I just feel like there was a couple of personnel changes that were wrong. And to be fair, we nearly got away with it, but it's got to come on to Nick Pope. I think literally today's game, showed the best and worst of Nick Pope because he made some really good saves. There was one from Eze in the first half where it was absolutely brilliant, brilliant save. There was a save in the second half, I believe he made, where I thought was in, and he's managed to tip it round the post for an Arsenal corner. as a shot stopper, I've never had any problems with Nick Pope. It's just been the rest of his game, and I think the rest of his game, his weaknesses were kind of on display today, and they really showed in the last minutes of of that game when we needed a goalkeeper to kind of command his area and show that bit of authority. He just wasn't there, and um, that's how Moreno scored. He didn't come and collect it at all. Very poor goalkeeping, and then yeah, for the second goal, it's literally a case of his distribution. He's kicking the ball out just aimlessly, and it's just like how fucking much longer is this going to persist with Pope? Like he's kept within the game in the first half, but he's also cost with the game, which is where I say it's the best and worst of Pope because it's just it's just frustrating because he shows his best, and then it's just the worst bits cost you in the big games, and yeah, it's a case of one of them now where so far this season we've lost 3 games at home, albeit we've lost 3 games to probably three of the top 7 or 8 teams on the planet at home, but we've still lost those games, and it's quite a thing. Like in terms of teams I dislike, I hate Liverpool, I hate Arsenal. Like the say comes in freeze, it better not fucking happen to Sunderland. Well, Sunderland in March. Um, but yeah, frustrating, really bitter pill to swallow because I think even though Arsenal did have chances and stuff like that, we dug in, and the players you could tell were playing for each other. But I just feel like a mixture of personnel and a couple of mistakes from Howe late on in the game really cost we today. And I think obviously we've got to go into this next week now against USC in Belgium in the Champions League, and then Forest at the weekend, and really crack on and try and get a couple of wins on the board. Because we're at like if we go on to lose the next couple of games, it becomes a difficult look to the season. So we've got to be looking to get our Champions League campaign back on track, and then we'll Premier League season back on track next week as well. So big week ahead, but back to you, Ian.
Thank you very much, Kyle. And I'm thinking whether or not there is something I still would like to say about the Arsenal game. Eze was absolutely fantastic on Arsenal's team, as was Declan Rice, as was Timber. I don't think I'll ever be able to take Gabriel seriously as a football player ever again because of his hypocrisy. When it came to the Newcastle United players, I think Gordon looked hungry. I think Tonali was class yet again. I think our entire defense was class. But it is still worrying that we have 6 points out of 18 games. But with my last couple of minutes of this match reaction, I want to offer you some perspective on that. Because I do understand it is easy to panic quickly when you're only on 6 points after possible 18 points were up for grabs. But losing against both Liverpool and Arsenal is 0 out of 6 points, but we were very much competitive in both of those games. The same can be said about Barcelona in the Champions League. So even against the biggest sides in the world, we can still put our foot next to them and compete. This season, unfortunately, the chips have fallen against us at the start of the season. Sometimes those things happen in football. You have to be realistic and say not every result can go your way. Not every month you're playing football you can be in form. And we had some trouble at the start of this season, especially the Alexander Isak situation took the wind out of our sails massively in an attacking sort of sense. Because in a defensive sort of sense, we are the best defense in England at this moment in time. I'm more so speaking about form than about personnel then, because I do still believe Arsenal's is probably the best defense in England. But we have performed the most impressive this season, and if we can continue to do so, that's a really, really solid foundation for us to build upon. And the only thing that we do need from then onwards is for our new attack to find its feet, for Wisa to come back, and for us to start banging in the goals. After which, I think we will be absolutely fine. And now, I do would like to thank you for listening. Again, as I said a little later this week, the second episode of this week will be out, in which me and Kyle will sit down together and have a conversation about our Champions League opponents. But as for now, I would really like to thank you for listening. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment. What did you think about the game? If you're listening to this on Spotify, please leave a review. 5 stars would be preferable. And yeah, without any further ado, I would like to see you on the next episode. Have a good one, guys.